So Dune hits UK cinemas Thursday, 21st of October. This is directed by Denis Villeneuve, who's previously done a good couple of other sci-fi films, epic, emotional sci-fi. So you've got Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, which very sort of in a similar vein,
Yeah,
I would say.
You can tell that he's got some experience with those kind of high concept, like large scale movies.
But with lots of heart at the same time.
Indeed.
But the human condition, I would say, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
So the synopsis is featured adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel about the son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and the most vital element in the galaxy. And this features absolutely tons of stars, doesn't it? So you got Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista, Chen Chang, David Damastal, I can never say his name. Plenty of people. So it was a very star-studded cast.
Indeed.
So, coming in and going out.
Yes.
What were your initial thoughts, Chris?
Right, well, I've never seen the previous Dune adaptation.
I have not, actually.
You haven't?
No.
Either. So,
David Lynch, right?
Really?
Stewart was in it, apparently. And Sting.
Maybe I need to watch it now. But, yeah, I've never seen it, so I didn't really have any kind of expectations or anything going in.
Preconceived notions.
Indeed. I knew it was sci-fi.
Yep.
I knew the basic concept of the story. I knew about the spice and everything.
Yep. Spice of life.
And I was aware that it's like big scope and everything, like it's big sci-fi.
Yep.
But I didn't really know what to expect other than that.
Okay.
And then coming out, it was an experience. Real experience.
That's one way to put it.
Just like the concepts, scale, visuals, atmosphere, blew me away really. I'm not sure I took my eyes off the screen. I don't know if that's true. But yeah, I would say the mood is a little bit dark in terms of bleak. It's very bleak in places and hopeless, and that's not really my taste in movie usually. But it's just so incredibly good that I was just glued to it. So yeah, that's what I think. Those are my thoughts going in and coming out. What about you?
Okay. Well, I rushed to try and read this before I watched it, right? I got so close. But
You didn't have to read all of it though.
No, I didn't. I think you'd have to read chapter 1, no, part 1.
I think there's going to be 2 movies, right?
Yes.
That was the idea. So I don't know how they quite split that up amongst 3 books.
Yes. But yeah, I knew how sort of seminal and influential the novel was. Obviously, had a lot of influence on Star Wars and Wheel of Time and a couple of other things like Stargate. Lots of sci-fi things, basically, really. So I was really intrigued. Like, I don't know why I hadn't read it before, but reading it, I was like, poof, this is very dense.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, but it's there's a lot to it.
It's one of those, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So I was thinking, how the hell do you adapt this? But obviously with Denis Villeneuve. Denny. I know him personally. I obviously, after seeing Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, I kind of knew where he was going to go with this. So yeah, going in, I was a bit hesitant, but obviously really excited about it as well. And then coming out, I just was blown away. And I can completely agree with you about the sort of, it kind of left me feeling a little cold at times. But I think that's the actual story. Yeah. That's not the,
It's not the movie. It's not the creation of the movie that's doing that. It's like, it's literally the story. But
yes.
I mean, usually that's not my type of story that I like, but I mean, it works so well that you can't,
Well, should we talk about story while we're...
Let's talk about performance characters.
Oh, okay. Yep,
Let's do the normal thing.
Throwing things out the window.
Throw all the structure out the window, Nicola.
Okay, sorry.
So I've broken it up into like the different houses and stuff.
Okay. Very Game of Thronesy. Well, no. Game of Thrones was very Dune-y.
Yeah.
Yes. Because everyone forgets that this came out in like the 60s,
ago,
I
right.
believe it was. So when everyone was like, oh, this is so much like Star Wars, or it's so much like this, and you're like, no, they were like that.
Flip it, reverse it, guys.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you got House Atreides. Timothy Chalamet
Yes.
as Paul Atreides. He kind of, his character is somewhat of a puppet, isn't he? I guess.
Yes.
And he is kind of, he's
I don't know how much to say, isn't it? Because he's a very interesting character to sort of delve into, but he's not the most interesting. There's people behind him that are more interesting, I would say.
Yes.
Yes.
And like he's important.
Yes.
In terms of like he's part of the house. He's like heir to the throne essentially.
Yep.
Right. But he's obviously not the main guy. He kind of finds his voice as the movie progresses. You know? So, but then we have to question whether he's like, whether it's actually real, whether he's like really progressing, or whether it's actually his own voice, or if he's being controlled and still puppeted in some kind of way. You know? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character because, I mean, in the book you get a lot more insight because it's in a monologue basically narrates most of the story. So you get a lot more sort of introspective about what's going on with him and things that are going on there. I try not to say too much here.
Careful.
So I can understand why people felt a little bit disconnected to him, especially at the start where you're still sort of trying to warm to him and he's a bit sort of precocious in a way, you know.
His character definitely grows.
Yes, for
I
sure.
think the idea is that he's
quite naive at the start and quite young, and he gets kind of thrust into the situation. He has to sort of adapt to it, and things click into place along the way.
Indeed,
I would say.
I would say very well acted as well. Completely believable. So, then we got Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica Atreides, the mother. So she's a bit mysterious and stuff. She's got some ties to the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And she's like clearly important, but you're not quite sure how. It's like, what's going on here? You got any any insights into that?
Yeah, I just find her so fascinating. I think she's the most interesting character and possibly the most important. Everyone's always goes on about Paul, but I very much like Lady Jessica because there's a bit more to her, really, I think. She's sort of stuck between sort of two worlds. So she's obviously the concubine, I don't know if you could say that anymore, the lover of the Duke. She's got a son, but she's also part of this religious sort of sect organisation called the
Bene Gesserit? Bene Gesserit?
Probably not saying that right, but yes.
Gesserit?
I don't know.
Bene Gesserit?
Yes.
I don't know.
But that order is very interesting. And she's probably the most powerful out of all of them for the majority of the film.
Interesting, yeah.
So yes, I think she's a wonderful actress anyway.
Yep.
And she just sort of steals the show
well.
for me, I think. Yes.
That's cool, that's fair. You got Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto Atreides, so he's like the head honcho of the Atreides family. And he plays a sort of stoic leader.
Very Ned Stark-esque, right?
Yeah.
His characteristics.
So, like duty to his house and the Emperor and everything, and that's like the most important thing, and he'll follow commands to the letter. You know?
He's very regal as well, like his beard, and he's gone a bit peppery, hasn't he? And yes,
got that strong leader vibe for sure.
But yes, he's honourable, stubborn. He doesn't listen to his better judgment. He thinks it's a trap, but does he do anything? But no, the honour.
The honour of it, yeah. You got to do what you're
must
told.
do his
It's the
duty.
Emperor, you know? So, yeah, interesting. Well played again. They're all great. So I mean, I don't know if we can really talk too much about performances because they're all great. But
yeah. Do you have any other highlights? Would you say
his character?
For the characters, or you?
Like Jason Momoa and Josh Brolin, I wanted to mention. So we got Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho. Interesting name. Yeah, I feel like he's a really interesting character. He's sort of somewhat of a joker. but he's also very loyal. Like he's like kind of like the opposite of, well, not the opposite, but Josh Brolin's character is very loyal as well, but he's much more kind of serious and stalwart,
yes.
you know. So they both played their characters brilliantly.
Yeah. I think for me, Jason Momoa is possibly one of the highlights, as well as Lady Jessica and Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, he's great.
He does kind of steal it at times, doesn't he? He's just got this like cheeky charm, and you really want to him, and he's
got
funny.
charisma, hasn't he?
Exactly, and he's such a good fighter, and the fighting style he has is fantastic, and it rivals one of their enemies, and there's more you can dig into there. Yes,
Freaking ninja.
Indeed.
Okay, let's move on to House Harkonnen. Yep. These guys are terrifying.
Yeah, they freaking float. What is with that?
So House Atreides feels very familiar and like very earthly.
Yes, it's very
almost British, or
I think their planet is sort of based around Norway, but their house name is Greek.
Yeah, I read something about them being based on like ancient Greece or something.
Yes.
But like the location
very European
stuff feels very like Scotland or something,
yeah.
Norway or something. Yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, the Harkonnens come across as completely alien, yes. Like just terrifying.
I mean, it looks like the set design and stuff was lifted from Alien or what the prequels called Prometheus. Very dark and very out of this world. Guy
called it like H.R. Geiger. Is that the guy that did the art for?
I think so.
Alien, yeah, it's got some of that vibe.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, so you got Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
He's kind of unrecognisable in a way, right?
This is a great performance. He's so sinister and inhuman. It's like, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's disturbing.
Completely.
In a really good way. Like, it's so convincing. Yeah, I love it. And they got Dave Bautista as Beast Rabban Harkonnen.
So his nephew, I believe.
It's his nephew. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, he comes across as an absolute badass, but he still seems like he's afraid of the main guy. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Like
I'm sure you could probably completely, wipe him out, and yet you're still scared of him. There's a lot.
You're never sure.
There's a lot of manipulation going on in this, and a lot of things behind the scenes which are intriguing. Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Then we got the Bene Gesserit. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but one of the earlier characters that comes into it is Charlotte Rampling as Reverend Mother Mohiam.
Yes. Now these are the puppeteers.
Yeah, it's cool. I love the idea of that. Yeah, she's an incredibly unsettling character as well.
Yes.
She's just like,
put your hand in here. Yeah. Why would you do that?
No,
just no.
Yeah. Yeah, terrifying as well, but in a different way. But it's great. Very, very cool.
Can't really say too much about that order, can you?
No, I can't give too much away. So we'll move on. We got the Fremen as well. These are the guys that live on planet Arrakis, yes. Which is the planet which is the wealthy planet because it's got all the spice.
Yeah, but they are not wealthy.
Right.
There's a terrible. Obviously, it's quite an allegory for obviously the Middle East, oil. Yeah. And what happens with that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A natural resource which is being mined for profit, and they're being exploited, basically. Yeah. They're trying to get their planet back, so there's a bit of a war between them and the Harkonnens.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you got Zendaya as Chani.
Yes. She's hardly in it, really, but then again, it's the same in the books.
Sure. She's a very strong female character.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to say what she thinks. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we don't really know too much about her, so like I'm not super clear on who she is yet.
She appears in a lot of dreams, though, doesn't she?
Interesting. Yeah. Need to get the next movie so we can see more of her. Then we got Javier Bardem as Stilgar.
Yes.
Yes. Again, a bit of a hard ass, like some of the other characters. But yeah, he's kind of set in his ways and he doesn't suffer fools, and he's an interesting character as well.
Yeah. I thought it was funny, the sort of culture clash and how obviously they must respect water living in the desert. So he spits at the Duke and then they're like, Gurney's like, what are you doing? How dare you? And it's like, no, this is a real sign of respect.
It's weird, yeah. It's interesting how those kind of cultures clash like that. It's good stuff.
Definitely.
Cool. That's all I wanted to say for characters, really. Shall we move on to plot?
No.
Yes, plot and story. So, first thing to say is it's just like a massive scale thing. Like they mention the sort of interplanetary trade and politics and stuff. And like at one point they allude to how much money it costs to send a ship to Caladan. Caladan? Yeah. So you get this sense of how big everything is. And
so basically everything relies on spice as well,
right.
because that is what allows interplanetary travel.
Okay.
So that's why everyone's after it, because then they can travel around space.
Yeah, and the fleets of ships and everything as well. There's just incredible like scale to everything.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, very Star Warsy vibe from the ships and things as well. Yeah, so it starts off quite subdued. It's like, even despite all the wealth around and all the ships and stuff, everyone seems kind of like life doesn't seem easy.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then I guess that's due to politics and factions and stuff and all that sort of infighting and everything.
Yeah, it's a very heavy political drama, I would say, at the start.
Yeah, they all seem to be sort of in competition with each other, the houses.
Yes, so again, very Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Houses warring over sort of the throne, but the throne is Arrakis and spice, I would say.
Would you say the emperor is kind of pushing people's buttons and stuff?
Oh yeah, completely.
Okay, so he's actually like stoking the fires.
Yes,
that's interesting. Yeah, and there's then some larger kind of ideas going on with the Bene Gesserit and the Imperium as well, and kind of who's pulling the strings and stuff. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Won't say too much, obviously. Obviously that will be clear from if you read the books and things, but obviously I haven't, so.
They very much just hint at it, I think, and they start to delve into it, but not too much.
Okay, yeah.
So
the tone does darken, gets pretty bleak there at a certain point. But I think we're left with optimism and hope by the end of the movie, so that kind of brings it back around for me. makes it manageable.
Okay.
I don't know what I mean by that. Yeah, and we learn more about Paul and Jessica Atreides and the Fremen and stuff sort of towards the end there, and see their characters expand and unfold a bit. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of the Fremen and Arrakis and stuff. I want another movie, please.
Yeah, I mean the story is so dense.
Yeah.
Like we said before, with Foundation, it's hard sci-fi, right? So if that's not your bag, please don't see this. Don't waste your time. It's 2.5 hour runtime. It's very very precise pacing, deliberately paced to set up so much world building.
Yep.
And I can understand if it does leave you cold and it's not for you.
Yeah,
but
it's not going to be for everyone.
No, but there's so much that it explores. As you said, there's obviously the political drama, which unfolds, again, like Game of Thrones. There's motivations, there's a lot of manipulations and playing the strings. And the interesting twists and turns, how they unravel, does very much keep you gripped, I would say. And yeah, there's a lot of sort of weighty themes explored as well, isn't there? Like exploitation, environment, especially when you get to Arrakis.
Yeah.
And yeah, religion, culture, kind of thing.
Yeah. Very cool. Shall we talk about visual soundtrack score and stuff?
Oh,
Start with...
do go on.
Sorry. Let's start with soundtrack and score.
Okay.
So it was a score by
Hans Zimmer. Woo!
Hans Zimmer.
Yes.
Pretty epic, as to be expected.
Indeed. I mean, he scored Blade Runner 2049, and this somehow manages to stop it, because do you remember when we watched Blade Runner 2049 in the cinema and the speaker on the wall like crackled because the bass was that, you know, it was just so ethereal, and it did. That score was crazy, and this, he just somehow manages to top it, I would say. There's primal female vocals, isn't there, and beating drums, and it feels very...
Yeah, it's interesting. Something that's supposed to be so futuristic, it does have that very primal vibe to it, and
Yes.
really gets to the core of like humanity,
and
it's
there's
heavy. It's
space
heavy stuff.
bagpipes as well,
Space
thrown into the,
Yeah,
into the mix.
that's a good bit. Enjoyed that. Visuals.
This is, I would say, I know everyone says this when they see a film, but I would probably try and see this on a bigger screen as possible, because a lot of it is filmed in IMAX, and just the size and scope of the actual shots are just insane. It's just so immersive. And I don't think you can really replicate that if you like watch on HBO Max. I mean, I can completely understand in certain situations, but yeah, I just
the scope of it requires a large screen almost, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean some of the shots as well, as you said, with the fleet of ships, and just the vastness of Arrakis, and
Yeah. There'd be times when you're looking at a massive shot of a planet and there'd just be like a small ship going.
Yeah. And
so
then when you
that's
see
the kind of thing you might miss on a small screen, perhaps.
Exactly. And when you see the worms as well, when you finally see them, it's just, and they look so tiny in comparison. It's just insane. Like, just the scale is off the charts.
Yes, the cinematography, color grading, overall look and feel.
Yep.
It's all just amazing. And there's a lot of like small things that I really liked as well. Like the personal shield things are really cool.
Yes.
That was a great effect. Dragonfly looking helicopter type things.
Ornithopter, I think they're called.
Ornithopters.
Yes,
They looked believable
cool,
to me. They looked cool. Looked like they might actually fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, ships, like I mentioned before, Star Warsy kind of vibes. Sandworms. It's also interesting and cool.
And the still suits were, I thought, really well done.
True.
Really well realised from the book. Looked like they could work, so that was very believable. I love how like the separate homeworlds and planets had completely distinct looks as well, so you could quickly distinguish between where they were as well. I think that was really well done.
Actually, because on something that's as big scale as this, it's nice to have easy delineations between things, because especially like often there'll be names of a planet and another planet that are very similar. I feel like Foundation had that. There was one, the main planet, but also the like outer reaches planet, similar names, and I get them mixed up. So yeah, it's clever when they do those kind of delineations to help you just notice the difference.
Also the fighting styles, as I said before, I thought that the battles were really well staged as well, and the action, and I really enjoyed that. It took a while to get to any action, didn't it? Yep. I think I would probably say the first hour or 90 minutes, it was just setting the stage, putting the main players on the board and stuff. But once you hit Arrakis, then shit got real, you know?
Real fast.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how would you rate it? What's your verdict? How would you rate it?
Well, my verdict on my review, if you want to go and check that out, I gave it 5 stars, so probably 2 thumbs up. So my verdict on my review on the website was Dune is one of the biggest and most ambitious blockbuster spectacles committed to film yet. The size and scope is truly epic, with Villeneuve building on his previous sci-fi entries for a true cinematic experience. I give this a 5 stars. I can completely understand if people would not, for obvious reasons, as we've discussed. Yes, at times I did feel a little bit disconnected and a bit cold to the characters, but just the, as we said, size and scope is just amazing. So yes, what about you, Chris?
Agree. Yeah, I think if it were any other movie, some of the kind of like the hopeless vibe that comes into the movie might have dissuaded me from it, put me off. But yeah, I was just absolutely blown away by this movie, and everything about it is just so epic and awesome. And yeah, I will say, like, I love sci-fi.
Yeah.
And
kind of helps, right?
Yeah, the Chosen One storyline is something that I really connect to as well.
Okay.
So it's definitely very much my kind of movie.
Matrix in space with deserts and spice.
Can't really go wrong for me. If you don't love those things, you'll probably struggle with this. So just be aware of that going in. Yeah, I would also say this movie is objectively incredible. So, like, whether you like it or not, it's an amazing movie. So yeah, 2 thumbs up from me.
Yes. I just hope it makes enough money because obviously
Yeah,
they've spent a
we have to
lot
get the next
of money
movie.
on it. We have to get
We
it.
need it.
Yeah. Where they
It's
left it, I
mine.
was like, no, don't stop
Because
that.
apparently it hasn't been like actually confirmed yet.
No,
Like
not
they,
yet.
they know that they went into it as a 2-movie thing, but they haven't actually necessarily agreed to the second movie. So make some noise, guys. Make sure that they
It's, whoop, whoop.
yeah. Send them an email or something. I don't know.
Maybe go and see it.
Yeah, see
Yeah,
it. That's
there
yeah.
we go.
Money speaks, right? Go see it. See it twice, 3 times. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to see it. I mean, it's amazing. So
I would caveat that with what I said at the beginning. If you don't like Arrival, if you don't like Blade Runner 2049, this will not be for you. As I was talking to a lady at London Film Festival who doesn't like sci-fi and was like, shall I see this? I was like, I don't think so.
yeah, it's true. There's probably some triggering things in there as well. So if there's certain themes that trigger you in some way, maybe you should research that before you go see it. But yes, I think it's amazing. So
Okay, would rate to see. Would
recommend.
recommend.